Just to start a little bit about myself, my name is Tracy Chute and I'm from Canada and have been a lifetime environmentalist. So I have done environmental education, I have worked with environmental NGOs, and basically it's a lifelong passion of mine. And during the COVID crisis was when I really got started on making my own cosmetics and researching the impacts that the cosmetic industry, the beauty industry has on humans as well as the environment. The beauty industry is one industry that grows almost unexceptionally every single year. So in basically we've got this year back here in I bet you can guess what year it was. Yes, 2020 was the only year where there was a drop, and then it continues to grow. So in 2024, the beauty industry was up to $670 billion, which was a 9% increase over 2023. So there is a demand for the beauty industry to be not only more environmentally sustainable, but to also consider the impact of the industry on human health. So basically I'm going to go through the life cycle of cosmetics and kind of look at some case studies related to each of these stages of the life cycle. Okay, so the first one that we're going to look at is the raw material sourcing. And so we have palm oil is a very, very common ingredient in food and cosmetics. So palm oil is present in 70% of our cosmetic materials. And one of the main reasons for that is that it is a very efficient tree for our purposes. So it produces a lot of oil on much smaller pieces of land when you compare it to other types of oils. It is originally native to Africa, and about 100 years ago it was brought to Asia, and now 85% of all palm plantations are found in Indonesia and Malaysia. But it's also found in 42 other countries. Palm oil demand leads to widespread deforestation of some of the most biodiverse pieces of land. There are endangered species that you find in areas that have been converted to palm oil, to palm tree plantations. So that includes the Sumatran rhino, pygmy elephants, and orangutans. This forest conversion also leads to the production of a lot of greenhouse gases, because you have peat soil, and those hold carbon. And so when these lands are converted, then that carbon is released and we get a lot more carbon dioxide being produced. Not to mention the human rights concerns associated with palm oil production. Because palm oil is so prominent, it's not appropriate to just boycott all palm oil production. And in fact, it's pretty well impossible to do that. What we can do is there are all kinds of certification bodies that exist. And you can look at each of the products and see if it has been certified as being a plantation that is environmentally sustainable and looks after human rights. Then the next part of the process that we're going to look at is the manufacturing of cosmetics. So when you have commercially produced cosmetics, you have water as a component, as an ingredient in the formulations. But actually, if you have all natural cosmetics, there's no need to have water because you have oil. So natural oils. But when you have these commercially produced products, water oftentimes is one of the primary ingredients. So with cosmetics, it's the same as with foods. The first couple of items are the ones that have the highest concentration, and then as you move through the list, it's a lower concentration. So if you have water as one of the first three ingredients, its primary purpose is just to reduce the cost of the product. So we have water that's used as an ingredient in the cosmetics, but if you have all natural cosmetics, then there's no need to have oil. Of course, water, many crops are very water intensive. So if we take, for instance, almonds, to produce one almond, you need between 4 and 12 liters of water to produce that almond. So looking at alternative ingredients is something that is important to consider. Almonds, of course, have many, many nutrients that are really good for your skin, and almonds have been used in cosmetic products for thousands of years. But it's this mass production or mass demand of almonds that cause a problem. We also need water in the processing of the almonds. So in the heating and the cooling of the machinery, and then of course for the cleaning of the machinery. So cosmetics are a very water intensive industry. But we can look at improving the technology for the processing of these materials. So what we can do to be more aware of is to be more aware of where the products are coming from, and to use alternative, less water intensive ingredients. And of course, packaging is a major part of the a very water intensive material. So to be aware of what type of packaging is being used is important. All right, now we get to the really scary part. And this is the harmful ingredients, or the synthetic ingredients that are found in cosmetics. So we'll look at some of these in detail. Parabens are used as a preservative in cosmetics. It acts as an antibacterial and an antifungal, and it makes products last longer. An all-natural alternative to parabens would be beeswax. So beeswax is a natural antibacterial, and in fact, when it's in its pure form, it will never go bad. But beeswax is quite expensive, and also you need to consider how beeswax is produced. Parabens are found in makeup, moisturizers, hair care products, and shaving products. They are believed to be an endocrine disruptor, meaning that they mimic the body's natural hormones. That can lead to all sorts of complications, meaning that it can affect things like growth, fertility, and metabolism. Some have been banned in the EU, but they are also looking for substitutes for these ones that have been banned. Yeah, basically it's important to be aware of what is in your cosmetic products. Then the next ingredient that I wanted to consider is phthalates. So phthalates are found in all plastic materials. So they increase the flexibility, transparency, longevity, and durability of plastics. And basically they give us this wide variety of products. Basically plastics are used for so many different purposes, and it's phthalates that give us this flexibility. They are also used to help to dissolve fragrances in cosmetic products. So one of the very difficult things in natural products is to get the fragrance dissolved equally in a recipe. And so phthalates help the fragrances to get dissolved. They're found in all plastic packaging, and they are found as an ingredient in nail polish, perfumes, deodorants, hair care products, hair gel, and in makeup products. They again are an endocrine disruptor, so I won't explain that anymore unless you have questions about that. Yeah, so they are an endocrine disruptor. And again, the European Commission has banned many phthalates, and they were doing research on this, and they took urine samples and found that phthalates are present in all urine samples. There are many that are banned in cosmetics, but then we use containers that contain phthalates. Recommendation on alternative, of course, is to use non-plastic. Then we have a few more, if this is not too overwhelming for you. Shall I go through these? Okay. So we have sodium lauryl sulfate. This is a surfactant, which basically means that it changes the surface tension in materials, making it easier to clean. And of course, we find surfactants, we find SLS in anything that foams. So back in the 1950s and 60s, there was a great marketing campaign to make us think that having a foam makes us cleaner. But there is actually zero scientific evidence that shows that foam is beneficial in any way. So we find SLS in shaving creams, in soaps, shampoos, basically anything that foams. It is highly irritating on the eyes, skin, and scalp. So then we need to have additional chemicals added in order to neutralize that irritation. And the big concern with SLS is that because it changes the surface tension, it does the same with your skin, meaning that it breaks down the oils on your skin, allowing for unwanted chemicals to enter. SLS is not restricted in the EU, but it is recommended to be used in concentrations less than 2%. And it's deemed perfectly safe when it's rinsed off. I don't know if you've heard of this app, Yuka. It's a great app where you scan the UPC UPC codes on products in food and cosmetic, and also in cleaning materials, and it will tell you all of the chemicals, and it gives a rating. So there's a traffic light system where you can have red, yellow, or green, then you can be aware of what kinds of ingredients are in products, because it's certainly not very obvious in package labeling. A good alternative to SLS, an all-natural foaming agent, is actually coconut oil. Okay, then we have titanium dioxide. So titanium dioxide is used as a UV filter in sunscreens and also as a coloring agent in many products. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, it's found in all different types of makeup, lip gloss, foundation, eye coloring, all these different products. Exposure to titanium dioxide can cause eyes, nose, and throat irritation. And there has been evidence that there is reproductive damage in humans. And probably most shocking is that it is found, it's caused lung cancer in animals when used in aerosol form. It was banned in August 22 as a food additive. It has not been banned in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. And I was very surprised when I was looking into this. I mean, I've been using the Yucca app for years, but I was looking for some products in my home that would contain some of these ingredients. In my partner's antiperspirant, it had titanium dioxide, and he uses the aerosol form. Yes, I was shocked to find that and not very pleased, so I ditched this.
Is there a toothpaste without titanium dioxide? I didn't know. I didn't find toothpaste.
Actually, I don't know that I've ever found one. Yeah.
In every toothpaste, they put this. Yeah, they put this into soap. They put this into everything.
Yeah.
A natural herbal.
Yeah.
This Himalaya titanium dioxide is the second ingredient, like the biggest one.
Yeah. Yeah. And pharmaceuticals, you can't find any kind of pill. So vitamin supplements, anything that has that gel coating, as well as just a tablet, a normal powder tablet. So it holds the powder together. Yep. Okay, then we have aluminum salts. So this is one that has been under discussion and investigation for at least 20 years. And there are many different results from research that has been done. Basically, aluminum salts are used to differentiate between, aluminum salts are found in antiperspirants. The difference between an antiperspirant and a deodorant is that the antiperspirant blocks the pores, whereas a deodorant just gives you a scent. It was deemed to be a health risk. It's deemed to not be a health risk when in concentrations less than 10%. The Journal of Molecular Sciences confirmed carcinogenic potential in mammary cells, but then there are plenty of studies that show different results, and therefore aluminum salts are still permitted. It's advisable to reduce the exposure to aluminum salts, particularly on broken skin. So ladies, this applies to us. It's not good to apply aluminum salts after shaving. But it's very, very difficult to find alternatives to antiperspirant. We've all become accustomed to not having any kind of body odor on us, and really the only way to prevent that is by having antiperspirant. Yeah, finding alternative. I have gone through and used that app and scanned every single item in Day-M and Rossmann, and there's basically one antiperspirant that doesn't have aluminum salts.
One. Show with us.
And actually,
there is one.
Yes, at least there's one. And the big thing as well is fragrances. So there's only one fragrance that is not in the red.
But if you go through this dermocosmetic stuff, like I don't know, I would say Vichy, but Vichy is not one of.
They all
I know
put.
that they have, but I don't know, La Roche-Posay, something like that.
Actually, the biggest, most expensive brands have more products in red. Yeah. Yes, it's shocking. Then we have phenoxyethanol. So this again is another antibacterial product that is added to many cosmetics. It's found in moisturizers, acne washes, lotions, all kinds of different things. And it's permitted up to 1% in Europe. This is a very questionable allowance because, well, the 1% goes for each recipe or each product that you use. The problem is that very few people use just one product. Now it is limited to 1% in each of those products, but we are exposed to this. If you use several products, if you have sunscreen and hand sanitizer have a lot of this in it. So back when we were in the COVID crisis, people were applying it numerous times per day. They have, for the most part, removed this from hand sanitizers, but it's still very common in sunscreens. And it's being tested as an endocrine disruptor. So again, problems with fertility and immunity and all kinds of different things. And on top of it causing lots of problems to the human body, it is really, really energy intensive to produce. So not much good associated with that at all. Okay, now we'll get into some alternative products. So each of these ingredients has been used for thousands of years in cosmetic products, and they offer really, really moisturizing and they have very moisturizing and protective properties. We have ones that are very commonly, I just put the most common ones here. Beeswax, cocoa butter, coconut oil, olive oil, shea butter, and sweet almond oil. So beeswax is very, very good at providing vitamin A, and it is really moisturizing. Cocoa butter has been used for thousands of years and was, of course, originated in Mexico, where you had really, really nutrient-rich cocoa butter. It had up to 300 different nutrients. Now, because it's mass-grown for cosmetics as well as for eating, there are not nearly as many nutrients left, but it is still very high in antioxidants. Coconut oil is another all-natural antibacterial. It is, of course, not as efficient as the synthetic materials, but it does offer antibacterial properties. Then olive oil, of course, has been used for a really, really long time as a moisturizer. Shea butter is another one that is very moisturizing and contains lots of fatty acids and vitamins. And then we have sweet almond oil, which is very common and very good for providing lots of nutrients. Sweet almond oil also is one of the oldest known cosmetic products. Now we'll get on to the packaging. The beauty industry produces a minimum of 120 billion packages each year. There is a lot of misinformation, and actually I couldn't find reliable data on how much packaging actually goes into landfills. So there are two reasons why a huge amount of cosmetic packaging ends up in landfills. First of all, because it's made of composite materials, meaning you have a combination of plastic and paper, making it not possible to recycle. And then because of all of these synthetic ingredients that go into it, they're not properly cleaned, and the recycling facilities just end up throwing it away. So it ranges from between 70 and 95% of cosmetic packaging that cannot be recycled. So of 7,000 products, only 13% of our cosmetic products are microplastic free. Microplastics are these plastics that are maximum of 5 millimeters in diameter. They have been found all over the earth. So at the absolute peak of Mount Everest, down to the deep trenches of the oceans. Sorry, you guys are looking a little shocked here. Is this getting to be too overwhelming?
I knew all that. I'm just mourning together with you now.
Okay, if it's too overwhelming, we can skip to the last parts.
No, that's okay.
Okay. So basically microplastics are produced. It happens to plastics, they just break down. They break down in one of several ways. One is through bacteria, another is through the UV rays, and then it's just a property of plastic to break down. So this is the physico-chemical property of plastic. It affects the environment in many, many different ways. I have a little food web here. This is my scientific background. So we have plastics here that get broken down. Okay. That get broken down into microplastics, and then they enter the soil. Then when in the soil, they have great effects on the soil. So light penetration is light penetration is changed. And then we have the oxygen content, which also changes in the soil, meaning that then the plants that grow in the soil have problems, and the microplastics are also taken up by the plants. So microplastics have also been found in seeds, and that affects the germination rate of the seed. And also it affects how much the plant can actually grow. Also in the soil, earthworms are not as able to, they don't grow to full capacity, and there has also been evidence of growth of earthworms. Then of course, when it enters into the plants and the animals, then it enters into the water supply as well. And then all of the organisms living in a body of water can also take up the microplastics. So there has been evidence of not just microplastics, but plastics, huge bottles found in whales, but this affects reproduction in fish, and also they end up starving to death. There are impacts on the liver and the blood of animals or organisms in bodies of water. Then we'll get on to the impact of humans of microplastics. So there are 4 ways that humans can get microplastics in the body. The first, of course, is food. All of our food is packaged in plastic, and those plastics break down, and then we eat the food. It's in our medicine, it's in our cosmetics, and then of course it's just in the air. So we can take microplastics in through ingestion, inhalation, and also just from being absorbed through the epidermis. And some of the complications that we humans have from microplastics are inflammation of the cells, cancer, then we have particle toxicity. Translocation is when parts of the gene break off and end up going to a different chromosome. And then we have oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is the number of free radicals in the blood are increased, and we have less antioxidants. Where do we find microplastics in cosmetics? They are found in exfoliating products. So when you have a body scrub, and toothpaste, of course, is an exfoliant. They're found in body washes and shampoo, makeup, deodorant, hairspray, and many other hair care products, shaving cream, and sunscreen. So they are commonly used to prevent emulsions from separating. So most cosmetic products are high in oils and fats, making it very difficult to keep things together. They separate, and so microplastics are added to keep them from separating. They are used to give us this